Hello everyone, Voodoo here, and with Season 3 of Dragonflight kind of winding down at this point, a lot of people are done with the game. They don't have as much interest in it, which is fine. And Season 4 probably coming out in about a month or two here. I want to take a look back at the last 3 seasons of Dragonflight and kind of just talk about how good Havoc's been. Maybe talk about talent builds, stuff like that. Just take a look at all of the different places it's been in the meta and where I think it'll be in Season 4 and moving forward. So with that out of the way, make sure you like the video, comment, and subscribe. We are so close to 10,000 subscribers, which is like a crazy thing to say. Also, check out my sponsor, G Fuel. They have a new flavor called Watermelon Mint. You can use my code Voodoo or the link in the description to check it out. Also, here's Goose. Anyways, with that, let's get on to the video. So obviously, the first place to start is going to be Vault. Now, Vault was the very first raid of this expansion. It was an 8th boss raid where you went into this jail for like elementals and dragons and stuff and had to kind of fight the incarnate forces who were trying to free the big, scary elemental dragons. And overall, this tier was decent, I guess you could say. For Havoc especially, we did pretty well. Coming into this, we got our rework. Well, everyone got the rework with the new talent trees. You know, we went from being sinful brand bots into something like, you know, kind of what you be playing now. For reference, in the raid, people normally played one of these 2 builds. One on the left is kind of the single target build. You'd recognize it if you played during Season 1 or Season 2. And the one on the right is kind of the Mythic Plus build, but it was used on a few bosses in this raid that had a lot of cleave to it. Nowadays, obviously, with the rework, you wouldn't really play a full Mythic Plus build. Or I guess you kind of do. We play the same build everywhere. But, you know, we kind of pick depending on the fight, right? You'd have a more single target or more AoE. Tier set this time was nothing, you know, strange. It was pretty good. It just gave us kind of passive crit damage and bonus damage whenever we did critically strike on our abilities, which was pretty good. Way better than our Season 2 one. And in total, Havoc ended up being pretty good. So this is an overall on 95th percentile for just kind of, you know, all the boss fights. And obviously, you know, all bosses isn't an amazing metric. You know, there's some fights where we weren't as good, like Aranog. Some fights where we were really good, like Diurna or Razageth, where we were quite good. But in general, Havoc performed pretty well in this tier. You'd often see 1 or 2 Havocs on kill comp for the final boss, which is really good. Through 10.0.7, you can see we're really good as well. 10.1, we drop off, but like, who really cares about 10.1 stuff? So overall, first patch of the expansion, at least in raid, ended up being pretty good. Moving over to Mythic Plus in Season 1, you can see here, just right away on all Mythic Plus levels, that Havoc is actually the most represented DPS of everything. I think actually Beast Mastery does beat it by just a little bit, but of all the DPS, Havoc was very highly represented. We'd play a build similar to this, kind of like the one where we did an AoE in the first section there in Raid, but Havoc was really, really strong going into this expansion, and was actually nerfed a few times, specifically because of Mythic Plus in Season 1. Actually, we even got a nerf because of like M0s, which was crazy, but anyways, the meta was pretty good. You can see all these top keys here. Havoc was in some of them, but not all of them. You had a bunch of different classes, really. I think Season 1, besides how good Prop Paladin was, Season 1 had one of the best metas of the expansion, at least so far. Obviously, Season 4 is coming out, but no one really cares that much. We split up a little further. We look at like 20s and up. We see Havoc drops up a bit in representation. From the second most DPS, 25 and up, it comes back a bit, and it's still the second behind Sub. And then there were no 30s, so I can't really segment further there. But Havoc was very strong. All the glaive stuff was really good and introduced, you know, a new wrinkle to their AoE. All of the Ragefire Immolation Aura stuff that we still use today, it was very strong and allowed for some really good uncapped damage with Ragefire. Spell Devastation was around. You had scaling with Mastery and Critical Strike for the first time. There were strong trinkets that allowed Havoc to perform very well. So overall, Havoc was pretty good in Season 1. You look at overall, they're a little bit behind Protection Paladins and Rogues at 25 and up, but they're the second most represented class. 20 and up, they are, you know, up there with the other good ones. So Havoc Season 1 was a great season for Havoc. Tier set was strong. The circumstances in the raid had a lot of cleave, which made us pretty good. Dungeons, we were pretty strong. Tier set was good. So overall, great start to the expansion. Moving into 10.1, and the wheels kind of fell off a bit. So this was 95th percentile for 10.1. So this would be the last 2 weeks of 10.1. We can see that Havoc is very middle of the rank. We see that they have roughly 479 parses for Havoc on Mythic over the last 2 weeks of 10.1. Obviously, it's not going to be a perfect thing because just in general, you know, it's only going to use 2 weeks. Is what it is. But Havoc was pretty mid. If we kind of segment it out further here, You can look, actually, I guess all these were gone. But weeks 5 and plus, Havoc was towards the bottom. Week 10.1.7, Havoc was at the bottom as well. 10.2, we got back up a bit again because that's because our rework came out for this little bit here. 10.1 was not great for Havoc. A lot of the nerfs we ate in season 1 kind of carried over into season 2. We didn't really see any buffs at the start, which led us down a pretty rough patch. At this point in the game, Havoc's single target was terrible. I think if we can look at like a single target boss here, something like Magmarax, this is a really not great representation. Let's look at 10.1.5. Magmarax, we're pretty mid. Something like, I guess, Rashok, you know, pretty down at the bottom there. We really were more so were for cleave, and this raid pretty iconically did not have much cleave. That right away was rough for Havoc. On top of that, augmentation came around, which Havoc was not a great target for. This was part of the PI stuff where if you were getting PI, you were absolutely slamming in the raid. Havoc was not good for that. On top of that, our tier set was kind of mid. It just gave a bunch of I-beam stuff, which really wasn't very impactful at all. It was a pretty poor tier set, if I had to say, for both Mythic Plus and Raid. So in Raid, you're playing the same build pretty much. You're just doing a lot less damage than other people because you're kind of falling behind because of those nerfs. And just in general, wasn't a great time to be a Havoc Demon Hunter here. You'd still be run because, you know, they still wanted you for your Chaos brand. You were pretty popular in terms of everything, you know, not like bad like a Survival Hunter or the single digits here. You're in the single digits, the 4 digits. You were still in the 5-digit range, but, you know, you weren't anywhere near how you were in previous seasons, right? So, you know, not a great time to be them, but with the rework that came out in 10.2, you can see we already started to shoot up. So good things are on the horizon for Havoc and Raid. In Mythic Plus, Season 2 for Havoc was pretty rough. Now, I'm sure a lot of people know about the God comp that came around. As you can see here, basically like every single top key was done with the same comp. This would go on for multiple pages, by the way, where it's just the same thing. Aug coming out was a bit of a plague on the meta that kind of ruined basically everything. But before that, Havoc still wasn't looking great. If you look here at all Mythic Plus levels for Season 2, Havoc takes up 5.3% of the representation of DPS. That is significantly lower than previous tiers. If you look even further at like 20s and ups, it drops down even more. Rep Paladin had a resurgence this year for some reason. And then 25 and up, the Shadow Priest effect comes in, 25% of all DPS. The Havoc takes up 5%. So not really a great Havoc Demon Hunter year. The reason for that was because of all the nerfs I talked about earlier. We basically were nerfed at the end of Season 1. A lot of other classes were buffed or reworked going through Season 2. Now, that alone wouldn't be that bad, but Havoc wasn't really buffed that much. The only thing that got buffed was an Inner Demon buff to buff our single target. And that pushed us into a build called Spread Eagle. Now, Spread Eagle, I hated it. It was a meme in Season 1. In Season 2, it was basically what we played because Inner Demon was uncapped, and it was all about burst that season while you were able to be brought. The God comp kind of ruined everything. Havoc's tier set with the I-beam stuff was pretty subpar. All the other classes kind of ended up passing it because of these buffs. Well, not all the other classes, but a lot of other classes ended up passing it because of buffs they got and because the nerfs Havoc got at Season 1 weren't really undone. So Season 2 for Havoc was probably the lowest point in the expansion. It was really bad, and the spec wasn't really fun to play either. In Raid, the Isolated Prey stuff with Fell Rush was not enjoyable. In Mythic Plus, Spread Eagle was really not enjoyable, at least to me personally. So things are looking dark. But then 10.2 came around, and with it came the Havoc Demon Hunter rework. So in comes Season 3 and I don't say rework because a lot of people were calling it a rework, but the retool, I guess you could say, of the Havoc Demon Hunter talent tree. Gone was the Isolated Prey, Fell Rush, updated with all the glaive stuff. Things were moved around, made easier to get. Fell Barrage was made an actual tool. There are more things to build into an immolation or a play style. Inertia was added. Really, really, really good stuff altogether. And with it brought a ton of damage. Now you can see right now, this is 10.2.5. Havoc's been nerfed, I think, like 4 times at this point in Season 3. So, you know, not the greatest right now. But at the start of 10.2, Havoc was really, really good. You saw 2 of them in the world first kill of most bosses. This was just a really, really, really good tier for them. Look at like Tindril or something like that. Very, very good. Look at something like Farak. Very, very, very good. Even things like Smolderon, they could be pretty solid on. Obviously, this is after we were nerfed. If you look at the start, they were a lot higher. Volcaros, they're pretty mid. But like things with AoE, Havoc does very well on again. While our single target is not the best. So we're kind of back into a similar spot in Season 1. However, in Season 3, we actually have a good tier set with the throw glaive things, adding a ton of free passive cleave. And our build went from one of those weird ones to this one you see before you. Obviously, some talent points can be changed depending on the boss. But for the most part, this is what we played on every single fight, giving you the best single target for our tree, as well as really strong passive cleave and active cleave. So that kind of set up Havoc to be in a really, really good spot. The Hunt was buffed and made it part of our tier set, which everyone really enjoyed. Things are just moved around, and Havoc got a lot more defensiveness as well in terms of deflecting dance and the ability to actually pick up Netherwalk. It was an issue the entire expansion, basically. So Havoc, really, really good overall. Right now we're in a spot where our cleave is really good. Our single target is subpar though, but overall I think it's really enjoyable as well. Now I will say, obviously all boss percentiles is not a great metric, especially with Augmentation Evoker not working, as you can see. If we go back to the last season, Aug worked this is 10.2 when they broke everything. And then here Aug worked properly, and then they kind of just broke everything and Aug no longer works. So not everything's as good here as you think, but you know, Aug not working does that. But overall, Havoc this season in Raid has been a blessing. Mythic Plus for Havoc in Season 3 has also been great. We bring a lot of single target damage while also doing AoE, and our tier set has been really good. In fact, you can see that we're one of the most represented classes or DPS specs again. Red is still ahead of us. Beastmaster is still ahead of us, but Havoc has taken its spot back at number 3, which is normally where it is. Overall, we were nerfed a lot because of Mythic Plus, but coming into the season, we were so strong, looking insanely powerful and really tanky as well. Now, as the season's gone on, we have fallen off a bit. Havoc definitely hasn't kept that staying power as much. We'll flip through all the things in a second. But our survivability to constant one-shots has kind of let us down a bit in this season, where Havoc just, you know, ain't as good as you might want it to be. If you look at 25 and up for, I don't know why I'm on that affix. All affixes, Havoc is one of the most represented classes. Now, this isn't really the truth, you could say. We'll flip through a bit here. I don't remember which are the ones after kind of the changes come through. Here's one, Storming Raging. This was recent. See, Havoc's kind of dropped off a bit in terms of DPS, which is fine. It happens. But Havoc definitely isn't as good as it once was. Reasons for that are just the rise of Vengeance in general, and just the other DPS being really strong as well. The whole kind of trend right now is that if you have a Vengeance, you don't have a Havoc, but if you have a prop Paladin, you do have a Havoc. Now, in terms of like tank representation, that means most of the time you don't have a Havoc, but we are very strong. We're one of the best passively tanky specs. That still remains. We do really strong damage, and it's pretty easy to get invites into keys in most ranges. Overall, Havoc's just in a good spot, one of the most popular melee DPS. Really fun to play. Inertia has been a breath of fresh air. All the Ragefire stuff has been great. So moving into Season 4, I think we're going to end up pretty well. Right now, it's impossible to say how things are going to look, obviously, for Season 4, but I think we'll probably occupy similar niches right now. We're going to keep our same tier set. We'll have most of the same trinkets. We'll have some good ones from the Season 1 stuff, but we'll keep Ashes, which is great for us. We'll be able to grab something like Guzzler for raid, or Icon for raid, or some other passive. And overall, I think we'll be in a great spot again. So I think if you're looking to play a class in Season 4 and moving into War Within, Havoc's gonna be one of those ones where it's always fun. You always want it because of the chaos damage, magic damage debuff, and really, it's just in a great spot. So right now, Havoc has gone through some ups and downs in Dragonflight, but I think overall in Season 3 and looking into Season 4, Havoc's in a really good spot. So I have a ton of content on my channel about Havoc Demon Hunter stuff if you want to check that out. Might start branching out a bit. I don't know, we'll see. I'm kind of running out of Havoc content a bit. But overall, I've kind of enjoyed my time in Dragonflight, and I hope you guys have all enjoyed it too. Been a bit of a crazy ride so far. We're not done it yet, but the journey from nobody to 10,000 subs is in like a year is a bit of a crazy one. So I want to thank you all again for watching. Let me know your thoughts on Havoc throughout the expansion. Check out my sponsor G Fuel, use code Voodoo, or check out the link. Go try out the new flavor watermelon mint. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Like, comment, subscribe. See you guys next time. Peace. All right, a big thank you to all my channel members. Thank you Sky Elk, Fede Gregori, Andrew Kino, Guillermo Lamas, Period, Brad Wisniak, It's Bulk, Magic Man 133, and Howley. Thank you all so much. You guys are amazing, and I really appreciate the extra support. If you guys want to support me, consider becoming a channel member below. You get access to exclusive videos and some emotes to use in comments and stuff, as well as a special part of my Discord. So thank you all so much. I really appreciate it, everybody, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.